So with Donald Trump due to arrive tomorrow, people have been talking about, what will our trade deal with the US look like when we leave the European Union? And of course, he's recently praised people like Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson, talking about how great they are and how bad a job Theresa May's done with the EU. So I want to get into something that happened this morning where the US ambassador to the UK went on the BBC and talked about what this trade deal would look like, and it's really what many of us feared in terms of having a trade deal with a bunch of cronies in the Trump administration, what that would look like. So for New European reporting, the US ambassador to the UK, Woody Johnson, has said that the National Health Service will be on the table in a future post-Brexit trade deal between America and the UK. Speaking to BBC One's Andrew Marr, the ambassador denied that a big free trade deal would mean the pharmaceutical companies would get a slice of the NHS, but admitted it would be on the table as part of the deal. He said, "Your National Health Care Service is the pride of the country and it's a highly emotionally charged issue," before adding, "I think probably the entire economy in a trade deal will be on the table." And Marr said to him, "Which includes the health service?" And he says, "I would think so." So people also went on, the article goes on to talk about the people who are critical, so I'll read some of their statements because they're quite good. So anti-Brexit campaigners and environmentalists fear that such a deal with the US, if this includes a general deal, would allow chlorinated washed chicken and hormone-enhanced beef to be sold on supermarket shelves. And someone went on to say that this is precisely why Trump endorsed Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage. He knows they want to sell off the NHS. Tom Scott, another person, wrote, "Get ready for our healthcare to be sold off for profit for US corporations." And someone else said, "Woody Johnson is the mouthpiece of Trump, and the US ambassador is the epitome of a dick-swinging American trying to dictate terms to little old Britain. Insists the NHS is up for grabs in a US trade deal, and chlorinated chicken is non-negotiable. No thanks, I'll stick with the EU." So it's as most of us feared, you can't trust the Trump administration, and why is Theresa May not once but twice rolling out the red carpet for someone like this who wants to unleash US insurance companies onto the UK, make us have a private healthcare system like you guys have, which kills 30,000 people a year? People would rather die sometimes and get treated for terminal illnesses like cancer because they're afraid of leaving their family with debt that they can never pay off. And of course these companies are extremely predatory, so they'll take everything you have before you can pay all this stuff off. So it's insane that we are rolling out the red carpet for someone like this, and it shows that the Tories in a lot of ways, and a lot of them, aren't that much different to Republicans in terms they want to privatise everything for the benefit of capitalism. And you see in the documentaries like Knock Down the House, AOC, and lots of the other people running, saying that this is a commodity, this iPhone, but human lives aren't. And one of the characters in that documentary, one of the people who ran for Congress, Amy, is it Villela? She had a daughter who died at 21 because her insurance wasn't filled out properly, so she couldn't get treated. I think it was for a blood clot or something, and she died. And 30,000 people die in America a year from not having health insurance. And you want to bring that system over to the UK. We're rolling out the red carpet tomorrow. He's meeting the Queen, he's meeting all the royal family, he's meeting all these people, and this is what he wants to do to the UK, unleash private corporations to run our healthcare industry, something that the UK is obviously very proud of, because at the Olympics opening ceremony in 2012 we had a big thing about the NHS. So it's obviously a crazy deal that will only benefit the US. What are we getting out of that trade deal? This is why people are so stupid for voting for Brexit in the first place, because who are we left with? Unreliable people like Donald Trump, people you can't trust. We're at the mercy of people like that because it's a superpower and we're not. So we've got to accept that deal because we might need it so much, but then they're going to push chemical chicken on us, chlorinated chicken, beef with hormones in it, all that enhanced shit to make it, I don't know, whatever it does to it, probably makes it larger or taste better or something. But it's obviously really bad for you because the EU has different food regulations, better food regulations, so you don't eat this poison all the time. And it's just frustrating to see that we're just selling out so bad. And this is why I fear Boris Johnson becoming the Prime Minister, because he's even worse than Theresa May, and he's a sellout. He's just a political opportunist, so he'll do anything. He'll be best mates with Trump. And the way they respect him is insane to me. Trump is so stupid. He is just the front for all these capitalist industries to push what they want. Do they want the whole world to have private healthcare systems where they can just exploit us? Exploit your basic right to live. If you have a terminal illness, you can't get treated because you don't want to put your family into this debt. And I read it in America, this one horrible story. Some guy got a rattlesnake bite, and the bill at the end was $200,000, including $4,000 for the ambulance to the hospital. How does that cost $4,000? But it's obviously because it's not the actual cost of the ambulance ride, it's healthcare companies exploiting the price and upping the price because they can, because what other alternative is there? And again, this is why we can't leave the EU with people like Trump as our allies. It's ridiculous. You know, losing a good trade deal with the EU and making a horrible one with the US where they're going to impose the US oligarchical system essentially on the UK. And the UK has many problems. The UK is like a microcosm of the US in a lot of ways. We have a right wing that would happily privatise the NHS as well. And people like Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage are people that would do that. But it is not the same. People will not tolerate that and people will not support that. So the best way to get people really angry and never vote for the Conservatives again, and maybe even revolt against the government, is to privatise the NHS, which so many people rely on. And I can see people in the comments saying, you know, the private healthcare industry in the US is the best. Well, it's not the best. And the reason the UK one isn't working as well as it should is because we've had 9 years of Tory rule, which they keep cutting the funding for the NHS while the population increases and more people rely on it. And obviously we have an older population now, people live to a longer age, so they rely on the NHS a bit more. So cutting funding for that while all this is happening is obviously going to make the quality of care and the access to care harder. That's why we need more investment in the NHS, from taxes and from cutting things that we don't need, like I guess like nuclear submarines and stuff, and putting it into the NHS, rather than letting US insurance companies to come here and completely fuck over our country. You know, 30,000 people a year die in the US for lack of insurance. Do we want something similar to that happen in the UK? Obviously, we reduced the number to, you know, represent our population better, but that's still way too many people. So anyway, let me know what you think of the video. It is obviously pretty depressing, and I hate our government for rolling out the red carpet for someone like Trump who wants to do this to us. If you want to find me on social media, follow me at The Tabernacle on both Twitter and Instagram. Check out my Patreon now. I'm just trying to get funding for sort of a new setup, a new microphone, maybe a green screen, things like that to make me seem more professional and stuff. You can check out my WordPress blog, which is The Tabernacle WordPress. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.